Speaking of which, fall. It's fall, y'all, isn't it? Chris Mulcahy's in the Live Impact studio this morning. Now, it doesn't feel like fall.
No, it's just a word.
It is a word. What's in a name?
Yeah, what's in a name?
No, it's just letters.
Fall things are supposed to fall. Nothing is falling. They're actually increasing. It's more welcome to rise, everybody.
Rise. I like that. That's good.
Thank you. Yeah, but it's not going to last long. But yeah, boy, did we finish summer in a summertime way. We're talking about 91 on Friday, 92 on Saturday, and it was looking like a possibility of the upper 80s. But look at this. I want to go right to the 7-day forecast. We'll do things a little bit backwards, but it really tells a tale. But we should be around 81 degrees for this day in climatology. We're not. We have 87 today. Officially, we can call it the autumnal equinox is the exact name at 2:19 p.m. And then we're in the upper 80s to near 90 on Tuesday, and it looks like a good shot for our last 90-degree day on Wednesday. Now, I've said this before. We've been fooled before, but only 15 times in Charlotte history has our last 90-degree day been in October. 2019 was the most recent time that it did it. But what's going to happen is the back end of the forecast is really going to be one that I want to focus in on. That is going to be a cold front that's going to move in Wednesday. I think you might see an isolated shower storm, but it's Thursday night into Friday that we're not just talking about rain, we're talking about widespread rain. So this is definitely going to be the big weather highlighter. It's been a while since we've really said anything like this, that you could have hours of rain. So there is a slight flooding potential, but there's still a lot to unpack here. So the specific rain chances, because you can break your rain chances up into 12-hour periods, there's the daytime and there's the nighttime. So 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. is known as the overnight rain chances, and then you have the other one 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So what this is looking like, that you have rain that's scattered during your Thursday afternoon, but then it becomes widespread through your Thursday evening, Thursday night into Friday. So Friday morning does not look like it wants to play nice. It'll be actually a pretty decent downpour, talking about some torrential rain that's all coming along this cold front. So it's a classic setup that you have moisture that's surging beforehand, which, by the way, isn't going to make it feel all that nice. You're talking about not just humid air, but muggy air. You're really feeling it, especially on Thursday heading into Friday. But once this front arrives, it's along this that we could have some widespread rain. Now, this long-range model is a little chunky, so you don't really have a lot of details here, but it does look like the general time frame does look like the worst the rain could be on Friday morning. So something that we want to watch, because of rain trains over an area, especially since it's been so dry. Sometimes that can be almost like rain rolling off of concrete, as we flood so easy here in the Charlotte area. It's something that we want to watch. But once this front passes, it could have a back-end rain or storm chance for your Friday afternoon, but it should clear things out heading into the first weekend of fall. At that point, we can actually call it fall, y'all, because things are falling. As you work your way into next week, I think things are going to be a little bit on the milder side. But right now, our long-range precipitation models are showing up to about 1 to 2 inches of rain over the next 7 days. But that 7-day period is actually just encompassed into 2. So Thursday to Friday, I think we literally could have 1 to 2, even 2 to 3, depending where you are. But going forward, I want to focus in on something else, because I'm going to switch over to the tropics because 'tis the season. Here's the rain on Friday, but look what happens out in the Atlantic. That little area that you're seeing, the circles, whenever you have compiling circles like the ring of a tree, that's representing that you have a strong low pressure system that is really increasing its wind field. So that likely is going to be our next hurricane out in the Atlantic, which is actually following Gabrielle's path. This brings us to Wednesday morning. At this point, you don't have a lot of impressive action close to the United States, but that one area that you're seeing right around Jacksonville and Florida, south of South Carolina, that potentially could also be a tropical system as well. But sometimes when you have two storms that are really close to one another, two things can happen. Well, one, the stronger one can take the energy away and fizzle it out. Or two, when they get really close to one another and get strong enough, you can have what's called the Fujiwara effect, where the storms start to rotate around each other in a counterclockwise rotation. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you are starting to see them really starting to play into one another. So I want to show you, again, for the long-range models, this is our mid-level energy. All you have to do here is just look for really just a few spots. Actually, no, let's go to tropical development first. So this is the newest update that we have. So it looks like a 70% chance for that one wave that you see to the right of your screen. That is the best chance of becoming tropical storm, or I think eventually Hurricane Umberto. The area in the orange would be Imelda, and it's the I names we always have to watch out for, but the H names, obviously, we're celebrating the anniversary of Hugo today, and then all week about Helene. So H names aren't really nice to the Carolinas either. But I really want to focus in on that area of orange, depending what it's going to do. But already in the most recent update, it's really interesting that Gabriella just became our now second major hurricane of the season. Now, Gabrielle officially is up to winds anywhere from about 120 to 125 miles per hour. So that is substantial. It really went through a quick little rapid intensification, and it just became a hurricane over the weekend. So Gabrielle, not going to be an effect to anything, but really just shows that things are really cranking up, that we're starting to now not really see the disturbances that we once had. So here, I want to show you this. Here's Hurricane Gabrielle. Gabrielle officially has the 9 a.m. advisory, which, by the way, the only time that you're going to have an odd number advisory like this, when I say odd number, I'm not specifically meaning odd. I'm meaning ones that aren't their typical 8, 11, 2. That means that they had an update of something major, and that was turning this into a major hurricane. So anytime you have winds that are 111 plus, then we're talking about category 3, and that's exactly where we're at now. And we are going to be approaching category 4 before it starts to weaken. But it also really shows about how warm the waters are this far north in the Atlantic, that it holds on to hurricane strength, leading all the way up just west of Portugal. So it just shows about how strong this system is. But also, where we're seeing the general path of Gabrielle, I think exactly is where we're going to see this secondary system. As you can see, this area of red glide literally and butt up right to where Gabrielle is now. So this system is not really a concern to the United States. Likely, it probably is going to push just east of Bermuda again. Bermuda has to watch this one. But atmospheric's all about blocking and flow. Oftentimes, you can have one system that completely stops the flow of things. That's what happened with Dorian, where it turned stationary. But in this case, it's actually keeping this second storm over a lane. So if there was only one out there, it would just glide out to sea, just as Gabrielle's doing, as what the secondary system's going to do. But that area of orange is the one that we really want to watch in the near term, just because it is going to be really close to the United States. It just depends on how strong it's going to be. So I want to show you the mid-level energy that I was talking about. This is a lot. This is like the yellow and the oranges of a crayon box just melted on screen. But what you see here, and here I'm going to stop things, bringing up to next Monday, look at that bullseye. So that's picking up on the area red that I was pointing out, that likely it's going to be Umberto. But then if you see that little circle that is just west of it, this is Monday morning. That's where you have a little area, a low pressure system that starts to churn towards the United States. But then I think what happens is it actually gets sucked back into Florida. We don't know what the intensity of that one's going to be. That one's really the wild card, but it's close to the Carolinas. So I'm not here to scare. We are still way too far out with this, but you have a system that potentially could develop off the Carolina coast, off the Florida coast. So it's one that we really want to watch. That 7-day forecast I showed you is not affected by this. The 8 to 14-day outlook can completely change. To put it in perspective, it was September 27th that Helene made landfall, but it was around this time that Helene was just an imagination. It was a potential wave. Things were waiting to get going. We were watching that area actually for about a week, but it wasn't until the atmosphere cleared, things calmed, the wind shear died down, that allowed the path for certainty to really allow this to rapidly intensify. So again, there's now pieces on the board that we have to watch, really heading into the end of September into early October. Just letting you know that that's probably the most important part of the long-range forecast, but number one, the near term, is going to be that rain on Thursday and Friday.
Wow. Okay, so lesson learned from Helene is that all of this energy, we are not alarmed right now, but we're just going to keep ourselves on our toes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because for there to be a storm, there has to be a wave. And there are active waves now developing out in the Atlantic and the Caribbean. And you also need things to be just right. These are fickle creatures. They have to align everything perfectly for them to rapidly intensify, for them to turn into these monsters. Well, I'm just letting you know, by week 2 of the forecast, those conditions are kind of just right. That's why you're seeing those big bullseyes on the screen here. So again, just letting you know, things are aiming that way. So that's a second wave 5 especially is one that we're going to be watching closely here in the United States.
All right, so you're glad you went on the boat over
I
the
did.
weekend, Carlene?
I got my boat time.
You got it. And
I got my
Season
swimmies
Tom.
in.
Yep.
and it was
Last
summer like.
moments of summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it truly was. We brought out the big inflatable pool for JT.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did.
I still haven't rolled it up because it's a pain. It's just sitting there killing
Sit in
grass.
there.